Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mechol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torat. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Blessed are you, Lord God, King of the universe, who has granted us from, separated us from all people and given us his Torah of life. So, friends, continuing in the Parsha every week, we are in Parsha Yitro. Now, Yitro comes after the heels of Beshalach, where we see that the splitting of the sea and that great miracle, and then they come and they cross over the sea and they come to the other side, and the people complain about water, right? And they complain to Moses about the water. And then what happens is Amalek comes from the back and he strikes Israel, for which God never ever forgives Amalek. And he's never ever forgiven Amalek at all, completely. And he tells Israel, you will never ever, take cognizance of Amalek. And the sworn enemy of Amalek and Israel has been right through the ages, even until now. And the Parsha ends with that thing, and then we come to Yitro. Now, finally, God brings them to Har Sinai, and they're at Har Sinai, and Moses' father comes. His name is Yitro, and it says that he comes and the families reconciled again together. Moses' wife, 2 children, and Yitro, and they come and they come to Moses' tent, right? And the story goes. But this Torah portion is so fabulous because it's the Torah portion where God descends on Har Sinai and he speaks the 10 words of what we would call the 10 commandments to the children of Israel. Yitro is a very interesting character. Very, very interesting. By the way, Yitro's got 7 names. He's called by 7 different names. All these names mean very, very different things. There is Yitro, there is Yeter, there's Ruel, there's Chovav, there's Cheber, Chaver, there's Keeni, and there's Putiel. Each of them mean different things. But one thing is for sure, that Yitro truly converted and joined the children of Israel. And until today, his descendants are still very much part of Israel. They say that there is a group of people who live in the Negev, who live within the confines of Israel today and are the descendants of Yitro. So they say, and they claim themselves to be the descendants of Yitro. They're still part of Israel. Okay, so open your Bibles. We'll go to chapter 18 and we're going to read from there. Chapter 18 from verse 1 onwards. Now, mind you, this is approximately more than 50 days from when they've left Egypt. And there is a big possibility that what we are reading here right now about Yitro has happened after the episode of the 10 Commandments. Because the Torah is not written in chronological order. It's not written. So if you look at the language carefully, you'll realize something. It says over there, verse 1 in chapter 18, it says, Va'ishma Yitro Kohen Midian. Choten Moshe. Yitro, the Kohen, the high priest of Midian. And by the way, Midian is the province that you would still call today in northwestern Saudi Arabia as Medina, around that province. very close to Medina, there is also a modern day place. It's called Al-Munawwara. Al-Munawwara, from where we get the word menorah. Menorah. So these are very ancient places, absolutely ancient places. And if you go to currently where Al-Munawwara is, and Midian, Medina, that area, you would still find archaeological references uh, about Yitro and all these places. It's still there, it's still existing. Uh, this is very interesting because Yitro was a person who dabbled in all the idolatry known to humanity. All idolatry. He searched for everything. He was a very spiritual person in many, many ways. And being trying his level best to connect to God, to connect to a God for that matter. He tried all the idolatry in this world and he was not successful and he was not happy about anything. And yet he remained the Kohen of Midian and he remained the Kohen of the northwestern part of the peninsula. And it is said, as a background, that he left off his path of being a Kohen. He started giving up his faith of being a Kohen, because of which he was shunned by society around him, by his own people, by his own tribe, and all these people. And they never treated him and his family very, very well. If you remember, when Moshe comes and runs away from Paro, and he comes to the well, and he's sitting on the well of there, and the daughters of Ruel, who's Yitro, come to draw water for the cattle. The other shepherds come and they fight with the women and chase them away. Why? Because that family was ostracized. That family was ostracized already. And being ostracized and being shunned in many ways, he had opened his arms out. And when he heard his daughter saying, he asked his daughters, how come you've come so early from the well? He said, oh, we must tell you, a great thing happened today. There was this Egyptian who came and who saved us from the other shepherds. Really? Why were the other shepherds so this thing against Yitro's family, especially his daughters? They were ostracized as a family. So there is a little history to this, to that extent, because of which Yitro was very, very open-minded. And when he heard, he said, bring him in. Bring him in. So he remained in Yitro's house. Moshe remained in Yitro's house, and he looked after Yitro's wealth and his properties and his sheep and his goat or whatever. And also, he gave his daughter, one of his daughters, in marriage to Moshe. Yitro being a person who is spiritually still seeking, truly seeking, and no better do we know his spiritual journey than in this Torah portion. Now let's read. It says, Vaishma Yitro Kohen Midian Choten Moshe, and Yitro, the Kohen of Midian, the father of Moses, heard all that God had did to Moses and to Israel, his people. Et chol asher asa Elohim le Moshe u le Israel amo bi chodzi Adonai et Israel mi Mitzrayim. That the Lord had taken Israel out of Egypt. Yitro, the father of Moses, took Zipporah, the wife of Moshe, after her having been sent away. Moses told Zipporah, take the children and go, because I'm going on a journey. I'm not sure when I'm going to come back. I don't know what's going to happen to me. Go back to your father's house and live the rest of your life. He actually probably gave her a bill of divorce and he said, you go. Anyway, when they heard of the great things that God had done, that by the hand of Moses, God took the children of Israel out, the known world shook with fear and with trembling. And then rises Yitro and says, ah, my son-in-law, ah, my son-in-law. Something in his quest of his heart said, after all these years of searching, I have found something. Come, my children. Picked up his wife, picked up the grandchildren, said, come on, let's go. You have got to go and witness and see what's happening out here. Very interesting story, isn't it? So she had two sons, Shnei Benit, Asher Shem Haikad Gershom, Ki Amar Ger Hayiti Beretz Nikriya. And the second name was Eliezer. For the God of my father came to my aid, and he saved me from the sword of Pharaoh. Now, Yitro, the father-in-law of Moses, came to Moses with his sons and his wife to the wilderness where he was encamped by the mountain of God. Now, the question is, has the revelation of the Torah already been given? Yes or no? They had already been encamped out there. Remember when they came to Har Sinai, God called Moses and he said, get them washed and ready, and the third day I'm going to descend, I'm going to speak to them. That's it. So the giving of the 10 words had already happened. And now everything was settling at the base of Mount Sinai. And now Yitro comes. And now it's giving a story, what you call a story that has already happened. And the Yitro, the father of Moses, came to Moshe with his sons and his wife to the wilderness where he was encamped to the mountain of God. He said to Moses, I, your father-in-law, Yitro, have come to you with your wife and her two sons with her. So here, Yitro comes to give honor to his son-in-law. Ah, my son-in-law. But he was seeking for something more than what he has lived all his life. Mind you, he has been right through all the gods, all the idolatries, everything, but he was still seeking something more. Then Moses went out to greet his father-in-law, and he bowed and kissed him, and they inquired one man to the other about the other's well-being, and they came to the tent. Moses told his father-in-law everything that the Lord had done to Pharaoh and Egypt for Israel's sake. He recanted everything that God had done from the time he left him in Midian, including the giving of the Torah, because of which Yitro now has been sold, and he has realized that there is only one God and there is no other gods. Absolutely no other gods. For all of Israel's sake and all the trouble that he had fallen on them by the way, and that which the Lord had rescued him. It says over there, it says, Vayachad Yitro. This last year I spoke about this word Vayachad, this level of being joyous, a spurt of joy, Yachad. In other words, he came into a oneness and understanding this illumination of emunah and faith just burst inside of him, and he became yachad, one yachad, yagdav. He says, what is yachdav? Why yachad yitro al hakotha hatova asher asa Adonai leIsrael asher hadzeli meyad Mitzrayim. And he rejoiced over the goodness, tova, that the Lord had done for Israel, and that he rescued him from the land of Egypt. And then Yitro says, Vaimer Yitro Baruch Adonai Asher Hatzil et Hachem Meyad Mitzrayim Umeyad Paro Asher Hatzil et Am Metachat Yad Mitzrayim. Blessed is the Lord who rescued you from the land, from the hand of Egypt, and from the hand of Paro, who rescued the people from under the hand of Egypt. Now I know that the Lord is greater than all gods. Now I know that the Lord is greater than all gods. For that which they schemed against them, Yitro, the father of Moses, took an olah offering and peace offerings to God, and Aaron and all the elders of Israel came to eat bread with the father-in-law of Moses before God. He gave his father-in-law honor. Moses gave his father-in-law honor. And now finally, he is collected, grafted into the faith of the children of Israel. And they came and they ate in the tent of Moses, all the elders of Israel, and they had that meal with Yitro. Immediately it says something very, very interesting after this in verse 13, because this is where I wanted to talk to you all about, and I put it on the WhatsApp group that I want to talk to you all verse Torah versus grace. Okay, Torah versus grace. Are we under the law? Or are we not under the law? What is Torah? What is law? What is grace? We will understand this very, very clearly now. It was on the next day, Vayhi mimacheret Vaishev Moshe leshafat et ha'am vayamod ha. It was on the next day that Moshe sat to judge the people, and the people stood by Moses from the morning until the evening. And the father-in-law of Moshe saw everything that he was doing to the people, and he said, what is this thing that you are doing to this people? Why do you sit alone with all the people standing by you from morning to evening? What are you doing, Moses? This is too much for you. You cannot keep doing this. Why are you judging them? And Moses said to his father-in-law, because the people will come to me to seek God. When they have a matter, one comes to me, and I judge between a man and his fellow, and I make known the statutes of God and his laws. So essentially, what was Moses doing? If you look very carefully, what was Moses doing? Moses was taking the instructions of God and he was interpreting, he was giving them application of the instructions of God for the people to apply it and internalize it in their lives. So if they had a civil dispute, they would come to Moses and they would take justice out of it. If they had a family indifference, they would come to Moses. If they had a matter of crime, for whatever reason, they would come to Moses, and Moses would be from morning to night judging them in all these levels. Because it was Moses himself who took the Torah from the Father, from God, and he gave it to them. But then they came to Moses and saying, Moses, you're telling me to do this. You're saying this is the instruction of God, and that's the instruction of God. But can you please tell me how do I apply it to my life? It's very easy for somebody to stand on the pulpit and tell you, this is how you're going to live your life. And this is what God has done. And you're scratching your head and saying, 1 second, He's told me do this and do that. But how am I supposed to do it? Am I confident that I'm doing the right thing? Let's say I want to follow God's commandments. But I need guidance in that. This is where you and me living in this world today have been very, very blessed. Because the counseling and the guidance of God's Holy Spirit plays a big part in remembering God's instructions in our lives. This entire load was given to Moses. Entire load was given to Moses. So therefore, when we're looking at Torah, the word Torah comes from the word Torah, which simply means instructions. That's it. Instructions of how to live, what to do, how to do this. But those instructions can become burdensome when it goes on to interpretation. So if I am confused about something as a person, I would go to Moses. Let's say I was there, okay, at that point of time, 3,500 years ago at Sinai, and I seen all these wonderful things. And then Moses got to the Torah from God and all the instructions, and I'm still scratching my head. It's too much for me. It's too much. I need to go before Moses and ask him for clarification of all things, of this and this and this and this. God said, honor your mother and father. Oh man, this is big. How do I honor my mother and father when my father is a drunk? Or he's a serial womanizer? He just leaves us, his wife and the children, and he's out doing other things with other women. Or my mother is also not of good character, or she's a drunkard for whatever reason. And yet, God says, honor your mother and father. Moses, can you please explain to me, where do I draw the line? You're telling me love my brother, but my brother is a crook. My brother, at every twist and turn, he tries to manipulate me and rob me and steal from me. Moses, can you please help me? How do I negotiate life out of this? My elder brother or my younger brother is fighting with me. He wants more of the share of our inheritance of our father than what is given to him. And he's not talking to me. He's putting up people against me. He's insulting me. He's doing everything in his wicked ways of demonizing me. This is my brother. And so is my sister. My sister is married to somebody else, to another man. And since the time she's married to the other man, there's only disdain in her heart. And she comes to our house fighting all the time, fighting with my mother and fighting with my father. Moses, please help me. How do I deal with all these problems in life? Imagine 6 lakh men and the counterparts and the children and the fathers and the mothers and the grandchildren. How many people? About 3 million people in total. And Moses had to sit and dispense justice. So the evolution of law, this is the foundation and the evolution of law. Because if people are essentially good, you and me would require very less instructions. And the more wicked we are, the more interpretation of instructions are required for you and me. And that interpretation and that application becomes law for me. It becomes a standing word. Every instruction given by Moses now has been written, encoded in black and white and engraved into a stone, saying that this is the law. But do we really need law? Do we really need a judicial system in our lives? Is it necessary? Well, God, in His wisdom, understood that a judicial system is very, very necessary for humanity. So we can't run away from that. Even now, we are all subject to the law of the land and to various other affiliated laws, but we may not be under the law. We go under the law once when we do something that is against the law, or we break, that we break the law, then being subject to the law is a different matter. That's by default. But we come under the law. So the law becomes applicable to me who is become a criminal in the sight of the law. So to say, should we be under the law, under grace, it's a very wrong statement that we can make. None of us are under the law of the land, none of us. We all subject to the law of the land. Now, take for example, that in your business environment or whatever, social circle or whatever, a matter arises and you have to go to the civil court to dispense justice in some way or the other. You need the law. You need the law for things that are even the smallest and mundane things in life. Because if you think that it's not important, but the person opposite demands justice and you are pulled in, that's it. You need the law. You don't expect God to come and stand before you, send an angel and stand before you in the court and say, okay, my son and daughter is clear of it. That's it. Walk away. Walk away. Doesn't happen that way. We need the law. So we all subject to the law of the land, but we may not be under the law. When Rav Shaul is talking about being under the law, he's talking about one, society being completely degraded and requiring the law to suffer through it and requiring the law to come out the other side to be vindicated or to be incarcerated. So when he's saying, why do you want to be under the law? Is like saying that I have violated everything and I am deemed a criminal by the law. And I'm either incarcerated or in some way or the other, I'm this and that and that and that, whatever. Therefore, I'm under the law. I'm not only subject to the law, but I'm under the law. Now he's saying, you who are under the law and have been incarcerated, receive grace. Please receive grace, because the law will take its course, and so will grace. So grace is not there to overturn the law. Grace is there for you to navigate and your way through the process of being under the law and coming out the other side and said, I paid my dues of my transgressions and sins to society and to people. And even if I blaspheme God and made God small in the eyes of the other people, which God looks and holds me against, even that I am now vindicated for. So I want all of you all to just take a few steps, notches down. don't over spiritualize many things. I want you to go to foundation first. Foundation is that sin is missing the mark. Let me explain that to you. Transgression is violating other people's boundaries around you. Hmm? Crime is something that can be reversed or cannot be reversed. Okay, guilt is something that you're unsure of that you've done. It's wearing a heavy burden on you, and iniquity is your state of impurity. These are all the different levels a person deals with. So sin, according to the Bible and Torah, is missing the mark. Am I a good father, or I've missed the mark? Am I a good husband to my spouse and wife, or I've completely blown it? I've been stupid. I had a beautiful wife and I've blown it, or I've had a beautiful husband or I've blown it. I've missed the mark completely. I had opportunities to study, but I blew it. I had opportunities to get a fantastic parnasa and livelihood, but you know what? I destroyed it with my own hands. I missed the mark completely. I missed the goal of life in so many ways. That is sin. We think about sin as, I'm only sinning against this person and against God. No, there are so many ways you completely miss the mark in life. And that rectification takes years. The first thing that needs to come to mind is your level of understanding, the maturity of understanding, saying, man, if I was not so stupid 20 years ago, my life today would have been so different. But 20 years ago, I was so hard-headed that I never took consensus from people around me. I never asked. I never took consensus. I would have made a better decision 20 years ago in this matter, and things would have been different today. Therefore, the offset of my life, I've missed the mark completely of my calling in everything in life, whether it's ministry, whether it's parnasa, whether it's livelihood, whether it's family, everything. I have missed my calling. That is simple sin. So people trudge around, getting close to God, trying to do ministry, trying to do this, do that, but they know in their heart how they've missed the mark in all areas of their life. Listen to what I'm saying. In all areas of their life. And that is what kills a person. Because by the time a person comes to 14, 50 years old, and he's like, man, what a dump I'm in. Maybe I took the right choice of getting a good parnasa. Maybe I'm well-to-do, I have all the money in the world. But when I look at family and I look at the other things, I'm like, what is life? Why did I make such choices? I blew it, I missed the mark completely. I sacrificed something important for this. I blew it, I missed the mark completely. So sin falls into so many multi levels of experience in this world. Maybe they came to Moses saying, I should have been a carpenter, Moses, but my father used to, force me to go and become a shepherd. I'm not happy. That's why I'm an angry person in life. And I'm angry with everything in life. True? Really? Moses, help me. You're telling me this and you tell me to do that. I don't feel like doing anything. Part of understanding Torah and understanding what sin and transgression is first knowing yourself. How you place yourself and how do you look at yourself? How do you know yourself as a personality? And then take the active steps of saying, I want to change. I want to rectify myself. Then you have on a little more deeper level transgression. So not only have you moved off the direct and not achieved anything in life, you've missed the mark completely about so many things in your life, but now all that is building up inside of you. So now you become angry, you become grumpy, you become this, and you're hurtful to people. You your talk is not good. You're vengeful in your talk. You abusive. You're curt. You don't know how to reply back. Your personality is completely not good. So therefore, what do? You start transgressing with people, and you start picking fights with people. It's for small things. Break relationships. You go and you're interfering in other people's lives, and you're looking at other people's lives through the prism of your nonsense, right? And you tend to give unsolidated advice, and people they say hate you. So what this guy comes talking and trying to tell us rubbish? We know. Don't give anybody unsolicited advice. You're transgressing people's lives. You're transgressing their boundaries. You're not respecting their boundaries. Whether even it's your wife, daughter, son, everybody, you can't be brash in prison and transgress. Stealing people's time, stealing people's ideas, motives. So many things you can transgress upon. It's a different level. And once a person gets into this level of transgression, that starts from missing the mark completely. Then a person becomes brazen. He says, I don't care now. You want to call me a bad person? Yes, I'm a bad person. I am bad. God will punish you. Let him punish me. It's okay. That's between me and my God. Fine. That's iniquity. Because you stop caring about everything in life. But how do you come back from all of this? How do you come back? How does one rectify his life and all of this and come back? And then by the time he comes back, you realize that he's 60 and 70 years old and he's completely missed the mark. And you put your head down in your head and you're weeping and you're saying, Lord, my full life has been a waste. Full life has been a waste. Not only have I missed the mark in my calling of what I'm supposed to do in life, but I've also, by which I've transgressed against every known person around me, and I've been filled with iniquity and with carelessness. I do not care for anything else in life. This is a bad place to be in. So people are coming to Moses because they have genuine problems. They have genuine problems. And one of the things we have to understand is when we come to God, we over spiritualize sin and transgression and all these things. Just forget about that over spiritualization of all of this. Look at yourself and understand what I explained to you. You can be right now in the most fabulous place in life, earning a very good salary, living a very good life, but when you come home in the night and you lock yourself, you're weeping. You can have a wonderful family, but alone, you're looking at your family and you're weeping from inside. It's a tough place to be in, and that causes all the transgressions and the sins. So therefore, Torah has the power to tell you, mend yourself, for man. Change, mend yourself. So Yitro is looking at Moses and saying, Moses, what are you doing? You can't be doing this. One guy comes to you in a civil matter, the other person comes to you in a personal matter. How are you doing this? You have to delegate everything. So Yitro now recommends to Moshe that he puts in place a full judicial system, a full judicial system. See what he says, what he does, Moses. He says, so Moses said to his father-in-law, he says, because the people come to me and seek God, when they have a matter, one comes to me, and I judge between a man and his fellow, and I make known the statutes of God and his laws. So God has told Moses a certain thing, and Moses is interpreting everything. It's like the law of the land, right? The executive branch writes the code and the laws of the land, and it's the judicial system that interprets the law, and it's the police system that applies the law. You see the separation of powers. It's the same formula that's given even in the Bible. The separation of powers are very, very important. And so he says, I make known to them the statutes of God and his laws. And the father of Moses said to him, he says, the thing that you do is not good. You will surely weary. It will show on you. And truly, by the end of Moses' life, you know how difficult it became for him. It became excruciating. He was crying. He was literally begging God, Lord, he says, how long more am I going to carry these people? I can't take it anymore. You will surely weary, you as well as this people that is with you, because the matter is heavier than you, and you will not be able to do it all alone. Now, if you take my advice, he says, I shall advise you, and may God be with you. So what I advise you, you implement it, but you take and ratify it by God, that he blesses the work of your hands. You be for the people opposite God. You represent people, you mediate for the people before God. That's true. And you convey the matter to God. It says you convey everything to God. And you shall caution them regarding the decrees and the teachings, and you shall make known to them the path in which they should go and all the deeds that they should do. And you shall take from them, from among them, people, men who are wealthy, men of means who are wealthy, who have no need of the material things of life. God-fearing also, men of truth, people who despise money, and you shall appoint them leaders of thousands, leaders of hundreds, leaders of fifties, and leaders of tens. What is this advice? Do you realize today what's happening in America? In 3 weeks, America's turned on its head, because the president in America is a billionaire. He does not even take a salary for what he's doing as a president. He says, I don't need the money. But he has all the authority to go line by line, precept upon precept, and remove every wicked deed and sin and transgression of the government for the last 40 and 50 years. And that's what he's doing. And he's appointed the richest man in the world as the head of Doge to go into every federal office and to root out the corruption and the wickedness. What does the richest man in the world get from doing that? He does not need it. He is wealthy, he has money, he has so much money. He has no need to be corrupt because he has so much of money. There is a special responsibility of being wealthy. And it is said that Moses also, by the end of in his life, that Moses was so wealthy that he could not be bought for anything. Now, there's a reason why wealth creates a very special status in the men of God. Sometimes we may look at men of God and they are wealthy and all those things and say, hey, what is this? But wealth is essential because when a person's wealthy or has good means in life, he has a very special way of looking and interpreting life because he understands far more than a person who does not have. A person who does not have anything looks at life so critically and he does not understand the ways of this world or the ways of money or the ways of doing business or the ways of doing this. He does not understand. A poor person or a person who just lives from day to day, go to his office, gets a salary, come, live, this, that's all his life is. But a wealthy person uses his mind and his experience and he knows things that a poor person cannot understand. There is a certain wisdom in a rich person. There's a certain understanding in a rich person. There's a certain kind of affluence, spiritual influence, mental acuity in a rich person. Therefore, he is able to know the ways of this world and to apply the ways of this world also, and to teach others also the ways of this world. It's very essential for people to understand what it is also to be wealthy. Very, very essential. Therefore, most of the people in the Bible, not all, have been wealthy. King David was a king, Shlomo HaMelech, Moshe was extremely wealthy. There are other people who have been really wealthy. Absolutely. Job was a wealthy person. And you can take names and names and names and names because they had a very different acuity and understanding. So he says, you take from the people men of means. First of all, wealth attracts honor in this world. Wealth attracts respect, right? And they have to be men of means that they are not going to be bribed for your 100 and 200 and 300 rupees. They don't care. They will dispense justice where it's required. He said, you will appoint them and you will make them and you will teach them and they will take over all these other small system down the chain. If a matter, and you will appoint them over hundreds, over thousands, over 50s, over tens, and make them leaders of tens, they shall judge the people at all times, and they shall bring every major matter to you, and every minor matter they will judge. It's like the judicial system in every country. That you have the lower courts, and you have the district courts, and you have the federal courts, and above that is the appeal courts of appeals, and after the courts of appeals, you have the apex court, the Supreme Court, right? The final arbiter of all things is the Supreme Court. And this system was given here. So now think what a wise person Yitro would have been to explain Moses how to put, and Moses put this into place. He applied this, and the judicial system in Israel started. Now, why did Israel need a judicial system? What was the need? And this is very fundamental to get. What was the need for them to have a judicial system? God was with them. God's presence was with them. The tabernacle was with them, and everything was with them. Why do they need a judicial system? Did God tell Moses to set up the judicial system? Not so early. Much later on in the book of Numbers, I think it is. God says, take out 70 men, make them the Sanhedrin. Because this is the state of humanity. So to put it into simple words, you and me in this world need rules and regulations to live. Because if there are no rules and regulations, you and me are not going to be safe. So everything that we do, we need principles, we need rules, we need regulations, we need arbitration, we need security, we need adjudication. If I take a simple document, I need an agreement, I need it to be justified, ratified. I need something to be adjudicated. I need something to be evaluated. If I'm selling a property, I need to know it's correct valuation. I need evaluation. I need all these things in my life. God has put all this in place. We all subject to law, whether you like it or not. If I decide to become a wicked person and I violate the laws, then I'm under the law. And Moses said, and Rav Shaul says this in the book of Romans, he says, for the Torah is given because of the wickedness and the evilness and the hard-heartedness of the people. So more wicked society is, more evil people are, the more rules and regulations we require. You know, I defy anybody to go to Africa and live in one of the countries out there. Try going and living in Uganda or Mombasa or Nairobi. See what will happen to you. There is no law and order there. Absolute law, no law and order. You cannot even go out and go there. You'll be murdered and slaughtered for even $1. Absolutely no law and order. You know how horrible these African countries are to live in? They need the law more than you and me need the law. But just think also, okay, we living in lovely peace out here, right? Just think that for one day, the government says, one day in the year, all law in the land is suspended. Nothing applies. You do what you want, you'll not be penalized. What's going to happen? Just take a hypothetical situation. One day of the year, from midnight to midnight, every single law applicable in this land is suspended. Do what you want. What do you think is going to happen? I'll be able to murder somebody, kill somebody, rob somebody, do what I want. I'm free. At the stroke of midnight, when it ends, everyone's back to normal. But the devastation, it's going to be so huge, like opening the floodgates of everything. This is because humanity is bad. Don't be disillusioned saying that we are living under grace and we're not in the law and subject to the law, under the law. Don't be disillusioned, my friends. Please, I keep telling people this. Don't look at Israel and say, oh, they cripple the people because of the law and this and not. We are living under grace. Everybody's living under grace. You and me are not exception. But that does not mean we're not under the law. Can anyone prove to me that we're not subject to the law? Or a lot of us are not under the law. I take the car out, I meet with an accident, I'm under the law. Insurance, this, that person comes, police comes, make a case, this, that, okay, that. I'm under the law. What makes you think I'm not under the law? I break a signal, police takes me aside. I drive the car without license, police takes me aside. Guy takes out his challan and says, 1,000 rupees fine. Sir, कशाला? जरा माफ करा ना सर. काय करतो तुम्ही? नाही नाही, पावती घेऊ तुम्ही. 1,000 रुपयाची पावती घ्या. तुमचे दंड आहे. And I'm trying to put in 100 rupees or there between the book and give it to him, right? Sodki, kashala, sodki. Prove to me that we are not subject to the law and that we cannot be under the law. Prove to me. Don't be disillusioned about these things, my friend. Grace is a different matter completely. You know, further to this topic, that is a far deeper topic I want to talk to everyone about. Is, have we really left Egypt and Mitzrayim? Have we really left Mitzrayim? We can be happy and boastful and proud and say, hallelujah, praise the Lord. But I can prove to everybody, we've not left Mitzrayim as yet. Because if we've truly left Mitzrayim, we'll be living the life like how Jesus lived his life. Unhindered in everything. You and me live a life of hindrance. And there's hindrance in everything. Don't you go back tonight and every night and before sleeping, you're looking at your life and saying, Lord, everything in my life is blocked. This is blocked. That is blocked. And I've been praying for you for 15 years. Nothing. That, this. And everything's piling up in my life. What is happening? There is no life. There's no life and there's no life abundantly. What is happening? You're still in that Mitzrayim, in that tsar, in that constriction. You still get up in the morning with that backache or that bad back or the bad knee or this problem or that or hypertension or diabetes or this or that. My Lord, have I left Mitzrayim? No. Therefore, God in his wisdom is very perfect. He has given us the law. And it will be foolish to think that the law cannot be applicable to us. It's very much applicable, my friends. But we will need more laws and more laws and more laws the more complex human life becomes. So each time there's an invention of something in this world and it spreads technologically, laws have to be created around it. You see, when there was no internet, there was no cyber laws. Now internet is coming, there's cyber laws. Now AI is being spoken about so much, right? Artificial intelligence. And the world is still scrambling as to how to bring AI into a judicious form so it's used correctly. In a matter of 5 years, I'm telling you, there are going to be laws and bylaws, and there are going to be, cyber laws about using AI, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It is going to happen. Watch it. And the more we progress, the more we're going to complicate our lives, the more rules and regulations and all this is going to happen. Till one day, it will be impossible to even open your door and step out of your house. Even to step out of your house, that will be breaking a couple of laws. It's going to come to that. Daniel was going to come to that too also one day. Because we are not honorable in the sight of God. If we are honorable, we do not need all these laws. We need no laws at all if we are honorable in the sight of God. Everybody is perfect, everybody is righteous, everybody is loving and kind to one another. There is no sin, nothing. It's getting more complex and more suffocating because we are not honorable to our God. We have to understand where grace comes in, because when God has seen the world, He is literally like this, saying, how much more am I going to do for these people? How much more? So grace has been there right from the beginning, and everything is apportioned, everything is appropriated, and everything is put in place only for our own good. Therefore, when God looks at this world in its own quagmire of all the rubbish that we're doing to ourselves, He says, strict justice has been suspended, and mercy and kindness takes over. That is the grace God extends to us. So it's not whether I am under the law or under grace. Every single thing in this creation is under grace. You are not exception. I am not an exception. There is no exception from this. Grace has always been there from the beginning, friends. So when Rav Shaul says we're not under the law, we're under grace, he means to say that you're living a life so worthy and honorable to God that all the laws of the land and everything around you, and even all the instructions that God has given to live right, is not applicable to you anymore, because you're living a righteous life and you've rectified your life. Your life is not missing the mark. You're not transgression. You're not doing this. You're not doing that. You have overcome. You have truly overcome. All this is not applicable to you now. And now you're living the grace that God has given all of humanity. Grasp it, take it, make it your own. This is essential for you and me to live, friends. Okay. That's why Yitro put into place this entire system. And he says, Moses, and I want to end by saying that all law comes from Torah. But Torah is not law. Every time your parents have put the foot down and said, you're not to do this, and I demanded of you not to do this, was first a very simple advice from them: beta, don't do it. It's not good for you. But you and me violated it, and it had consequences. So that advice now has become law of the house. It's become a law. That's it. But if we were obedient and never and just adhered to the advice, it would not have become law. It would not have become law. So take the very simple things and understand. And the next time now, when we keep studying and we come to Parashat, Truma, and giving of the instructions and the mitzvot and the sin offerings, you will be able to understand and put into place what is sin, what is transgression, what is iniquity, and you will be a lot more level-headed to negotiate your way out of all of this. I hope you all have been blessed, and this is a small foundation. I can only spend so much time with you, not much more, but it's a good foundation to understand that the world also needs to run, and it has to have its own ways put in by God, and everything is essential. So therefore, let's strive to not come under the law. We all subject to the law. The law is applicable to everyone, and so is grace also applicable to everyone. But let's not violate. Let's move on to perfection, and let's move and become sons of the living God. So the laws do not apply to us in ways that will incriminate us. Okay. I hope you all have been blessed. God bless. Have a wonderful weekend. Shabbat Shalom. I see you all for prayers in the morning, 7 o'clock. So please join us for Shabbat prayers. It's really wonderful. And yes, we are starting courses for adults, which we stopped in between. I put it out into the groups, everybody. We're starting Darke Tanvidi again. Those who are interested, please join. I keep offering, but people don't take. And I'm also starting soul dimension, right? Either one, if you all want to take, please take it. Talk to me. We'll figure out how we need to do this. And we're starting the courses again for the elder people. So please get in touch with me. And I see you all tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. Shabbat Shalom. Have a wonderful weekend, friends. God bless. I see all of you all. Okay. Bye. Bye. Shalom.
Bye. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shalom. God bless. Shalom. Doctors, just stay back one second. Doctor?
Yes, Mori.
How's your tooth?
That's very good. I mean, they pulled out two teeth. I went for one. They said one. If you take one, I get one free. So
You had 1+1, is it? Huh?
yeah, both my lower teeth in the back. That's molars. So anyway, but it was not very painful. Only the local when they gave it was a little bit. But after that, I'm completely recovered, More. Thank you.
So you're okay for tomorrow morning prayers?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good, great. Okay, I see you all in the morning.
Thank you.
God bless.
Bye.
Shalom.
Bye.
Bye.
Shabbat Shalom.